Hi there, I'm Becky Hammond and welcome to Isogo TV. Wherever you are on your strengths journey, I want to help you take your greatest strengths and apply them to your everyday work and your everyday life. And today you've caught us on Q&A Day. This is episode 28 where I'm answering a question that you have had about StrengthsFinder. And today that question is, does the order of my StrengthsFinder top 5 strengths really matter? So let's go there. One question that came up in one of my workshops just the other day, and actually comes up quite often, is I see that these things are in order from 1 to 5. Does that really matter? Does the order of my StrengthsFinder top 5 matter? And there's two different ways to answer this. So the answer is yes and no. Statistically and experientially. Statistically, yes, the order matters in that the way that you responded to the pairs of responses in the StrengthsFinder assessment while you were taking it is what generates that list. They are in order of the weights that you gave them as you took the assessment. So statistically, 1 through 5, 1 you gave the most points to, let's say, and 5 you gave the least. We don't really know, or at least I don't, and you don't, know what the weight difference or the spread is between those things. So the next step then is how you use it. It's experientially. Does the first one feel like the strongest strength you have? You know, a friend of mine, Dr. Angela Robles, who has an amazing strengths-based business called Forza Institute, who serves athletes with strengths, says that most often people can pick out one, or one jumps out to them for the most part, that says, yeah, this kind of seems like my strongest strength, or a foundation, and she calls it the base strength. So this is kind of my base strength, a foundation from which I feel like all the rest of my strengths seem to come, seem to flow. So for example, for me, when my top 5 originally came out, they came out as achiever, learner, belief, arranger, connectedness. And that's fine, right? In some ways it hardly means anything. But for me, as I have been using them and making them a part of my life, it makes the most sense to me to organize them as achiever, arranger, learner, belief, connectedness. Because for me, that achiever and arranger is what people see about me. It's what I've been known for my entire life. And that belief and the connectedness I've found are kind of my foundation. They're in some ways kind of the bottom of the iceberg. You know, the tip is what's sticking out for me. That achiever, arranger, and that belief and connectedness are kind of that core, that underlying reasons behind why I do things. And learner kind of connects the two and helps me to discover new things that relate to both of them. So for me, that made the most sense. So for me, my number 1 statistically does feel like my number 1 experientially, but that's not always the case. I have a colleague and a friend who has communication, woo, relator, positivity, and strategic. And she would say that strategic is the one strength that really all the rest flow from. If she didn't have strategic, all the rest of those strengths would look so much different for her. That it's the place where she finds her core and kind of her compass to use all the rest of those strengths. So the answer is yes and no, statistically and experientially. And really, in the end, it's the way that you talk about your strengths and use them and find that they're helpful is up to you and your experience. So that was your Q and my A. And I'd love to know if I answered your question, or if you have any follow-up for me, or what that base strength of yours might be. I'm interested in knowing about you, and I'd love to share more about myself as well. So connect with me. You can do that in a couple different ways. Over at Facebook, people are commenting there in association with this episode. I'll be able to get right back to you. Also, the comments at the bottom of this blog post associated with this episode 28. And that's all over at isogostrong.com, or reach out to me directly. You can find my contact information there as well. You know, I want the message of strengths and the power it has in people's lives to get out to the world. And I really mean that. And so if you would share Isogo TV, hopefully that would be what starts to happen. So share it in whatever circles you're in, and I would love for you to join me again next week here on Isogo TV.